There is a story arc in Radiant Dawn that has always bothered me. One I've been longing to address in a video like this for the longest time, because it's one of the biggest missteps in Radiant Dawn. The Blood Pact arc. For those of you who don't know or remember, in Part 3, as Ike's army is waging war against Begnion, Prince Peleus, the current monarch of Daen, orders Micaiah and her troops to join the war, on Begnion's side. This confuses everyone. Daen has only just won their freedom from Begnion, so why would they ally with their former oppressors so soon? Okay, there's some racism going on since Ike's army mostly consists of Lagus, but Daen also had many Lagus allies, so that reasoning doesn't really work here. After some terrible battles and pressure from Micaiah and Sophe, Peleus finally reveals what's really going on. One of his advisors tricked him into signing a blood pact, a magical document that forces the leader of one country to obey the will of another. In this case, Daen has to obey Begnion. If they rebel in any shape or form, a citizen of Daen will die each day the command is not met, and the number of deaths per day increases the longer the leader rebels. The only way to break this contract is to destroy the document itself. Even if you kill the person who signed it, the pact will still function and the deaths will continue until someone obeys the command. Even by the fantastical standards of Fire Emblem, this is ludicrous. How the hell does this thing decide who is a citizen of Daen? Does it just kill someone at random inside the borders? Does it magically look up the birth certificates? Or did some poor tepid Begnion actually write down every single Daen citizen? And how does it still work if the person who signed it is dead and the country has no ruler? Is it written in the contract, or is Begnion just exploiting loopholes at this point? Even if there was an answer to those questions, that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Not to me, anyway. What I truly care about is how plot elements affect the characters and the story as a whole. And ironically, thinking about the Blood Pact in those terms frustrates me even more. The Blood Pact exists for one simple reason: to absolve our characters of guilt. This pact is a magical plot card that you can just wave in the air and fix any problems you have. We want our heroes to fight each other, for whatever reason, but the fans love Ike, so he has to be in the right. But Micaiah can't be wrong. She's the new hero, and she's too kind to be a villain. And Peleus has to be innocent, otherwise Micaiah was in the wrong for trusting him. Shall we abandon the conflict then? There's no way we can make this work. Oh, ye of little faith! With our magical plot card, all we have to do is say, Blood Pact! And that justifies everything! Thanks to this magical plot card, everyone can be heroes, everything can be black and white, and any chance for meaningful character growth or moral dilemmas are stuffed into the bin where they can't besmirch our heroes. It robs our characters of any sense of agency or conflict because they're in a situation they can't get out of and are forced into a fight that no one except the writers wants to happen. And if that wasn't bad enough, the arc is filled with so much padding that it drags on forever. But it only gets worse. Remember this exchange from the start of Part 4?
So what you're saying is that we all have to play nice and work together. Just forget about all that's happened?
So open your eyes and look around. There aren't that many people left to fix this mess. If you don't help, we can't do it. Besides, I would think saving the world is something we could all agree on.
You're right, Commander. All of this is a result of our war. I guess there's not much reason for flag waving on either side.
That was added in the English translation. The original Japanese script never mentioned the Blood Pact until the first part of Endgame. And why not? It served its purpose and the plot needs to move on. It's not like this conflict and emotional turmoil might have had an effect on the characters or anything. And you know what the funny part is? It didn't have to be this way. You could still make this arc work using the lore that's already established in-game. You won't have to change the maps or add any new plot elements or characters. All you need to do is allow a character to take a fall. And to prove it, allow me to present to you my pitch for a revised version of the Blood Pact arc. We begin in Part 3, Chapter 11. After Micaiah collapses at the end of the battle with Ike, Sophie threatens to take Micaiah away, especially when Peleus tries to push Micaiah straight back into the fight despite her exhaustion. That's when Peleus gets down on his knees and begs the two not to leave, saying, "Without you, everything we've built together will fall apart." Micaiah awakens and asks him what he means by this. There is a long pause before Peleus finally hands his head and says, "Begnion have forced my hand." He explains that they have found something that could destroy Dain with a single stroke, and the only way to save their country is for him to follow their instructions to the letter. Micaiah asks for more details, but Peleus says Begnion has spies everywhere, and if he says any more, they'll act. Sophie thinks it's a load of nonsense and wants to leave, but Micaiah stops him, saying they will continue to fight. Sophie wonders if she's seen something with her insight, but Micaiah says no. It's still foggy due to her exhaustion, but she trusts Peleus, and she won't abandon her countrymen or her friends. And thus we lead into Chapter 12, where Micaiah resorts to dirty tactics, justifying it by saying that if they can land a crippling blow and force Ike's army to leave, then they've saved Dain. But the plan is foiled, and Micaiah almost loses Sophie in the process when Tiban uses him as a hostage. He is spared, but Tiban warns them that they won't hold back next time. Micaiah returns to the Dain capital and grimly reports the events. After being confronted by her own weakness, and with her guilty conscience finally catching up to her, she finally forces herself to confront Peleus. She says she wants to help him, but she can't turn herself into a monster, not for him or for the nation. If he wants her to fight, if he wants to escape the situation, he needs to tell her what they're up against so that she can start fighting the real enemy. Peleus lets out a long sigh and says that he doesn't want to reveal the truth, but he has no choice but to trust her. He reveals he is not Ashnard's son. The Begnion Senate knows that Ashnard's son is a branded, since he was born from an affair with a dragon Laguz. The only reason Peleus had made it this far was because his spirit charmer mark resembles the mark of the branded, and Ashnar's mistress, Almeda, was driven so mad by grief she was happy to have anyone as a son. If Peleus fails to follow their instructions, the Begnion senators would spread this information throughout Dain, and their trap would be complete. If Peleus answers the rumours by coming clean and saying, "I'm not Ashnard's son," he'll be lynched for stealing the throne from a desperate populace. If he continues the lie, the ignorant population would tear him apart for being one of the vile branded. And if you think this is a stretch, keep in mind that a few rumours in Begnion almost wiped out the entire Heron race. Soph is enraged by this, calling Peleus a coward for sending soldiers to die in order to save his own skin. But whilst the prince cannot apologise enough, he rationalises it by saying, "Do you think Dain would ever recover if it tore down its own ruler?" The two argue for a moment before Micaiah steps in and calms Sophie down. She tells Peleus that he doesn't need to be controlled by his fear, and he doesn't have to share the burden alone. Before revealing her brand, Sophie is aghast, but Micaiah says it's alright. It may be a huge risk to reveal themselves like this, but the Dain people have shown them nothing but love and support. So now it's time to place their faith in the people of this nation. It's the only way for them to break free from Begnion's control. It is a heartfelt plea, but without her insight, Micaiah fails to see something deep within Peleus. A concealed fear of the unknown. Peleus is shocked by Micaiah's secret and starts to rant in panic, screaming out things like, "Izuku was right! You did have some terrible plan, didn't you?" His anger renewed, Selphie moves in to kill Peleus, but on reflex, the prince blasts him with dark magic. With Selphie injured and Peleus' panic getting worse, the two of them flee the palace. A few days later, Peleus announces to the Daean people that Micaiah is a branded and a traitor, calling for the men of Daean to side with him to end both her and the Apostles' army. Micaiah and Selphie hold up in an abandoned fort, and Selphie desperately thinks of what to do next. But Micaiah is despondent. She reached out to Peleus and was turned away, and now the Daean people are following suit. The country she loved is now turned against her. At that moment, Volog shows up out of nowhere. Micaiah is confused by this, but Volog explains that they've been following her scent. When she asks what he means by "we," the rest of the Dawn Brigade show up. There is a joyful reunion, and Micaiah thanks her friends for standing by her. To which they respond, "Of course we'd follow you, and we're not the only ones." And a small army of Daean soldiers enters the fort. Micaiah is shocked, asking the soldiers if they knew she was a branded, but they simply say they don't care. She gave them hope when there was none, and that's all that matters to them. Micaiah is so overjoyed she begins to cry, thanking each and every one of them for their support. The joy is short-lived, however, as we cut into chapter 13, which can either be Peleus' forces trying to hunt them down, or the Apostles' army mistaking Micaiah's group for an offensive force. The battle continues before being broken up by Kurt's arrival. Micaiah's group then explains the situation to Ike and the others, but Kurt decides to fly ahead and talk to Almedha, hoping to learn of her condition and to see if they could work together to talk Peleus out of future conflict. However, this does not work, as the distraught Almedha begs for Kurt to protect her son at all cost, and in a moment of weakness, he agrees. With a force of elite guards and a dragon heading their way, Ike and the Apostles' army prepares to meet them head-on. Micaiah's group decides to stay neutral, as they would rather not fight Peleus if they can help it. And thus, the final battle begins. A battle so great that the chaotic energies start to affect the medallion, releasing the god sealed inside long ago, which leads to the final act of the story. None of that required me to rework characters or backstories. The secret of Ashnard's son is still alive and well. All I did was confirm that it wasn't Peleus. Yes, it made the prince look like a git, but now, when he gets to part 4, he has to work twice as hard to redeem himself. Hell, if you want him to be a New Game Plus character, just move the choice to part 4. Allow the characters to decide if they want him to join the group or not. It's not perfect, I'll admit, but you know what? I'll take this plot line over several chapters of writers waving a plot card in my face. I've been the Journey Monkey, and until next time, cheerio.